Hello everyone, Kevin Gooch here. Thank you for your time today. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the work of the 100 Black Men of Atlanta, Inc. We are a 34-year-old organization that focuses on mentoring and making a difference in the community. We are a volunteer-led member organization with a roster that begins with Hammer and Hank Aaron and ends with Ambassador Young. And we have a lot of legends and titans of industry in between. And the common theme amongst these men is that we all came together to lock arms and truly make a difference to impact our community through mentoring, because what they see is what they will be. We appreciate all of the support that we've received throughout the years and in 2020. But unfortunately, we've had to cancel 3 of our biggest fundraisers for the year. That would be our 100 Honors, the Celebration Bowl, and Divots and Divas. And so as an organization, we need your help. We need more help. If you want us to continue to provide the programming that we've been delivering to our young people, if you want us to continue to deliver on that promise that we've made to positively impact the community by making a difference in the lives of the young people in these communities that are often left behind, these vulnerable young people, please support our organization. You can go to our website, you can make a donation there, you can connect with our members, you can call our office, and we will be happy to have you in the fold with us, supporting us, investing in us, so that we can do the same for the young people that we serve and this community that we serve.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy to be back with you again today for the latest installment of our Let's Talk Leadership series. Today's guest is an incredible guest, and I couldn't think of a more perfect guest to have with us today at the beginning of Women's History Month and at the tail end of Black History Month. So I think we have an incredible guest with us today. And for those that don't know, for those that are tuning in for the first time, our Let's Talk Leadership series is a series designed to talk to members of the 100 Black Men of Atlanta and friends of the organization and just titans in the community about their leadership journey. And it's designed to help our high school students, our college students, and our young professionals navigate their leadership journeys as they embark on them in their academic pursuit or in their professional pursuit. And so today, the 100 Black Men of Atlanta is proud to present Justice Leah Ward Sears for our latest installment of Let's Talk Leadership. So I am going to do an introduction of Justice Sears, and then we will hop into some questions. And I think you're in for a treat, and it's going to be a fantastic discussion today. So, the introduction. Justice Leah Ward Sears, currently a partner at the firm of Smith, Gambrell, and Russell, where she's a member of the firm's executive committee, as well as the business litigation and appellate practices. Justice Sears was the first woman to serve as a Fulton County Superior Court judge. She's also the first woman and the youngest person ever to serve on the Georgia Supreme Court when she was appointed by Governor Zell Miller in 1992. In retaining her position on the Supreme Court, Justice Sears became the first woman to win a contested statewide election in the state of Georgia. Wow. So she was born in Heidelberg, Germany. Justice Sears spent many of her formative years in Savannah. She obtained her bachelor's degree from Cornell University and her law degree right up the street from Emory University School of Law. In 95, she obtained an LLM from the University of Virginia in appellate judicial process. She holds honorary degrees from Spelman, Clark Atlanta, Piedmont, LaGrange, Morehouse, Savannah State Colleges and Universities, as well as John Marshall Law School. She began her career with Alston & Bird, my former firm. So we have a little bit of bond there, but left private practice after 5 years to begin a career in public service as a judge with the City Court of the City of Atlanta. Once appointed to the Supreme Court in '92, Justice Sears continued her commitment to service to the people in the state. She spearheaded innovative programs such as the Georgia Supreme Court's Commission on Children, Marriage, and Family Law, addressing the legal and administrative issues resulting from the increasing fragmentation of Georgia's families. Justice Sears was also instrumental in the formation of the Committee on Civil Justice, an organization that develops, coordinates, and supports policy initiatives to expand access to the courts for lower income Georgia residents. Justice Sears' commitment to the law is further exemplified by her role as the past chair of the American Bar Association Board of Elections in the Judicial section of the Atlanta Bar Association, where she also served as chair of the Minority Clerkship Program. Justice Sears is founder and the very first president of the Georgia Association of Black Women Attorneys, an organization serving the needs of Black women attorneys, advocating for women and children, and empowering Georgia's community. She was twice on the short list for an appointment to the Supreme Court. She's a super lawyer. Justice Sears is also a fellow of the prestigious American Academy of Appellate Lawyers, an invitation-only organization whose membership is limited to 500 lawyers and is open exclusively to persons who possess a reputation of recognized distinction as an appellate lawyer. So only 500 out of all the lawyers there are out there. Additionally, Justice Sears contributes her talents in academia. She serves on the board of trustees for Emory University, the Carter Center, and the Georgia Historical Society. She previously served on the board of visitors of Mercer University Law School and the Emory University Law School Council. She's taught a course on pretrial litigation as an adjunct at Emory University Law School and the University of Georgia School of Law, Go Dogs. In addition, she was an advisory board member of the Albany Law Review and the Honors Program at North Georgia College. Justice Sears is committed to the community at large. She is the founder of the Battered Women's Project in Columbus, Georgia. She also served on the board of directors of such organizations as the Woodruff Art Center, the Sadie G. Mays Nursing Home, and the Georgia chapter of the National Council of Christians and Jews. In addition, she continued to be involved with her Atlanta chapter of the Links and also Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. A biography of Leah Ward Sears entitled Seizing Serendipity was written by Professor Rebecca Davis and published by the University of Georgia Press in September 2017. In 2009, Justice Sears retired from the Supreme Court of Georgia after 27 years of service on the bench. Justice Sears is the daughter of Onye Jean Sears and the late Colonel Thomas E. Sears. She is married to Haskell Sears Ward and is the proud mother of son Addison and daughter Brendan, who I actually worked with at Alston and Bird.
Yes.
So Justice Sears. So we have a true trailblazer and a history maker with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What a gracious introduction. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit of leadership.
Okay.
All right. Tell us a little bit about your current role as a partner at Smith Gambrell and serving on the executive committee of the firm.
Okay, that's an excellent question. Every law firm of my size, or most law firms of my size, are run both by a managing partner, but the managing partner chairs what's called an executive committee. My executive committee has 7 other lawyers. We meet weekly. We've been meeting weekly during the pandemic. And what we do is discuss the management, the running of the firm, finances, the budget. We make the firm go. We talk about marketing. We talk about diversity and inclusion. We talk about all the issues that we would need to talk about to make sure that our firm runs as a business, as well as at a professional law firm, well. So that's kind of the formal leadership role. I naturally, as an African-American woman, as a woman who is an African-American, there are also a number of mentors or mentees that I mentor. That's also a leadership role that I take on at the firm. I want to make sure that by the time I leave my profession in the next 5 or 10 years or so, that there are young people behind me that are ready to take up the mantle and carry the torch forward, to do a lot of mentoring.
What's a day like, a day in the life of Justice Leah Ward Sears in your practice?
In my practice, uh, just in my practice, it would be, yeah, if I was spending, so let me just say this, Kevin, I spend a lot of days like this one, where I had a, first thing was, I can't even remember what it was. Oh, we were interviewing a lateral candidate, okay, from the executive committee. Then I'm getting prepared for another program that GABWA and women judges are going to be putting on in March. And then I sign on to this. And then I spend the entire afternoon reading through briefs like this on my desk here. Uh, this just happens to be an arbitration in which I am the arbitrator, but so I kind of put my judicial arbitration hat back on, and I read through briefs and I'm crafting an opinion, my decision in that case. When I'm acting as a lawyer in a case, which is more often than not, I'll be writing the briefs or editing the briefs that a younger lawyer might have written for me. I do.
Okay.
I have a hodgepodge of, my main thing is appellate. I either embed myself in trials, watching for appealable issues, or I'm on appeal for the appellate type court, or I am arbitrating. I might be mediating. I'm general counsel now of the board of directors of MARTA, so I might be advising those people or what have you. So it depends. Senator John Ossoff, and Senator Raphael Warnock just selected me to chair their federal Judicial Nominations Advisory Commission. That's the commission that will be recommending to them, who are the right people to fill the U.S. attorney's jobs, the U.S. Marshal jobs, and of course, federal judicial appointments, district court judgeships, 11th Circuit judgeships. When that takes off, my day will take an entirely different perspective, because I understand from Senator Warnock that's going to be quite a job. So I always spend at least half a day doing the job, like the job, writing briefs, the job as a lawyer, and then the other half of the day marketing or doing community service or that kind of thing, pro bono. And that's pretty much like 6 days a week. It's not every day, because I try to take one day off.
I was trying to say, I'm trying to figure out, when do you sleep? Because that's a lot.
Well, so let me just say that since during the pandemic, there have been the pandemic's been a horrible thing, but one thing it's done for me is I've gotten slightly better on tech. I'm no tech whiz, let me be clear about that, but with all this Zooming and WebExing and team meetings and all this, you can go, like I've gone from 3 different Zoom meetings in 3 hours, and then I'll go do my work. Before this time period, I would have gotten in my car and gone to meet you somewhere, some studio, something. We would have recorded it, and that would have been half my day. So the technology is just making it much easier, to get things done.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about your trailblazing here. So, as I mentioned in your introduction, you're a real life, true trailblazer. As the first woman and youngest person to serve on the Georgia Supreme Court. As we know, Georgia is Georgia, and it's in the South, and they're relics of our great state's history of racial injustice that still exists to this day. So when you were going through the process of getting on the Georgia Supreme Court as a woman, and an African-American woman at that, what was sort of that process like?
Well, you interview with you fill out this application. I was only 36 years old at the time, too. So you fill out this application, you submit it to the Judicial Nominations Committee, which is a state committee designed kind of like the federal committee I'm on right now. What they do is go through the applications and decide who they're going to interview. And then you go and interview with that committee. And then after you interview with the committee, they send 3 names to the governor. Could be 3 names, could be 6 names, could be 4 names. They really winnow it down. And you go interview with the governor, and the governor makes his selection. And that's basically how it goes, along with all the angst and will I, won't I, that kind of thing. When I submitted my application and interviewed, that I was at 36, which was a very young age in 1988, that I was pretty sure I was not going to get the appointment because of my age. There had never been a woman on the court, the Supreme Court. So I knew Zell Miller, who was the governor at that time, was looking to put a woman on the court. But there was already a Black man on the court, Robert Benham. And the tendency of most states had been to put one token man, one Black person on the court. It tended to be a man. It was always a man. And that was it. That was, it was one white woman and one Black man, and the others were all white guys. That's how it worked out. And so since I was Black too, and Robert Benham was Black, and I was only 36, I was thought there was just no way at any, I had a shot. And so I was very shocked when the governor called and said he was going to appoint me to the Supreme Court. I was shocked.
So that's what I wanted to ask is, what was that moment like when, it looks like the cards are stacked against you just because of sort of the system and the way it operates. And then you actually get on and you have that moment to reflect and you put on your robe and you're like, wow, we did this.
Yeah. Well, it was more, when he first called, it wasn't that happy. I was shocked.
Okay.
Literally shocked, because I remember him saying, I am going to appoint you. I thought he was going to call and say, I really like you. You're a little young. Keep going at it. One day, maybe. But when he said, I'm going to appoint you to the Georgia Supreme Court, I said, really, Governor? Okay, that's the first. And then I think the second thing I said was, oh my God, I commit to you that I will never let you down. I will never let you. I just kept saying, I won't let you down. I won't let you down. But I was going to have to turn around. A judge on the Supreme Court it's a statewide job. I mean, you have to run statewide. And I had to, the job I was getting expired at the end of that year. I was appointed in February, sworn in March. The term of that judgeship was going to be over in December 31st, if I didn't win the election for the job. Do you follow me? Mm-hmm. So I had to immediately turn around, serve on the court, okay, do a decent job, and be the first woman, and also be African American, so everyone's looking at you. And I was also 36, and run statewide and win. So, and then I had a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old at home at that time. So it was pretty stressful.
Yeah, that sounds like a hustle to here's the prize, and now you have to turn around and run a statewide election while doing the job.
Yeah, I wasn't trying. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know if I was going to do it. So I kind of sat in my office in the Fulton Superior Court, the old building, stunned for a couple of days. And then finally my secretary, Betty, came in and threw a box down, and she said, she was older than me. Everyone was older than me. And she said, let's pack, we're moving. And that was it, we're moving. It was, Kevin wasn't just, oh, I got it. It was almost as I felt like this was a mission I had been given to do, and I had to go do it. Does that make sense? It was like,
Absolutely.
yeah, you were called to do this for women and Black people everywhere. Don't screw it up and go for it.
And I know that moment was the culmination. I truly believe in the impact that your village has on you. So I know that was the culmination of your hard work and the work and investment of everyone around you, starting with your family and your village
Yeah.
to get to that point. So, what role did mentors play in your sort of professional journey and getting on the bench up to that point in your life?
Okay, so getting on on the like Superior Court or the,
Through the first 36 years, what role did mentors play to help you get to
I
that
mean,
moment?
everything. But I wasn't really. They weren't really. I had a couple of mentors on the court, judges who took me under their wing. Judge Joel Fryer, Judge Etheridge, no, Judge Eldridge took me under his wing. Very supportive of me. A lot of younger people, including some of the younger African American people, were honestly hostile toward me because here I was their age or younger in many cases, and I'm a Superior Court judge, and sometimes they didn't make it that easy. So some of the staff, women can be very hard on other women, and
Right.
I went through some of that. But I had a father who was stunned too, but my father was stunned when I passed the bar. So he just didn't see that although with all the education, I mean, they had taken me around the world twice, and I went to very good schools and all that, but I just didn't think my father saw a role for a woman, comma, a Black woman, comma, his daughter, comma, as a judge, and because he was born in 1927 in Virginia. So when that happened, uh, my mother says he couldn't sleep for 2 nights. He just the world had shifted so much in his lifetime. He just couldn't fathom it. He was bursting with pride, as was my mother. And they had done, yeah, they had done. I mean, my two brothers were Naval Academy graduates, Stanford graduates, and I came from a pretty middle class home, but we didn't have like extra, extra, extra. I didn't come from an upper middle class home. It was like straight up. My father was military. My mother taught school. We had what we needed. We had a little bit more than we needed. And we traveled as we could. But their influence was massive. Uh, my current husband has been my husband is 15 years older than I am. His name is Haskell Ward. He was deputy mayor of New York City. And I mean, he has been a very good mentor to me. So I've had Black women mentor me, come on, darling, come on in here. I'm going to show you how this is done. All over the place. I've been blessed with people who allowed me, even just for a few minutes, to step on their shoulders to get up there. And it's been not just Black, but it's been Black and white and male and female. And I've been blessed.
Let me ask you this: as someone that has been mentored and someone that does mentoring, do you have any tips for someone on how to get the most out of that mentor-mentee relationship based on your experience?
Yes, I think the best thing you could do is be straight up and honest with your mentee if you're the mentor. You know, it's hard to do, and I don't mean honest like uh, brutal, but I would be honest so they could understand what you're saying. Like if somebody is wearing a hoodie into an executive committee meeting call, or a hat at a dinner party or something like that, that they don't remove or something like that. I think you got to tell them, because I think a lot of folks just don't know. They just don't know. And there is Kevin, you know this. There is a way, if you want to be in business, if this is going to be your thing, there's a way to present yourself. There's a language and a etiquette and a dress and a way of being. And I'm not saying you have to give up yourself. I haven't given up myself. I, stop wearing suits all the time and little bows and stuff like that. And you could be yourself, but you still have to be part of sort of a corporate culture. And telling your mentee, look, you can't. I had to tell some of my mentees initially on the Zoom calls, don't be sitting on your bed. When the Zoom call comes in for a litigation meeting, or make sure your dog is in the other room. That's not cute. That kind of stuff. Mm. And for the mentor, for the mentee to the mentor, the best thing they could do is actually listen and not and know that you have their best interest at heart, and not always be, she's from a different generation, or that's not quite right. I mean, sometimes they're correct. Sometimes that's true, but it's at least worth listening to.
Okay. So you've had a very distinguished career in the practice of law, and you come from a military family. You said your brothers were in the military, your father's in the military. Did you know you wanted to be an attorney as a young person? And or did it sort of happen?
No, I knew. I was very interested in the work of the Warren Court when I was born in 1955, around the time of Brown versus Board of Education, which is a famous case for those people who are not lawyers, which desegregated schools in the United States, or at least began desegregating schools and other public entities. And I was very sensitive to discrimination, both as a woman and as a Black, because again, I had two very accomplished brothers, one 18 months older, one 18 months younger, very smart. And I was always sensitive to the fact that they got opportunities that I often didn't get. And that was, or often weren't offered. And that was only based on gender. No, nothing else. And I would have to make that point. I should be able to do X, Y, Z. So I forgot where I was heading with that thread. What was the question?
Were you intentional about ending up being a lawyer? What led you to practicing?
So I followed like Thurgood Marshall and Constance Maker Motley and the lawyers coming out of Howard, and the cases that were going up into the Warren Court, with the state courts messing them all up, keeping systemic racism alive and well. And then they would get to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the court would do the right thing, would change the law and make fundamental major changes in the evolution of the law. And so I knew that being a lawyer was powerful. It gave you power to make things happen if you just only use it. And that's what I wanted. I wanted the power to make things better for people like me. That's actually, I had no clue what big law was, big law firm, any of that. I just wanted to practice law, go to court, and make things better for people like us.
What do you think are essential characteristics for a young person that wants to practice law? And then on top of that, what do you look for folks that you all hire at Smith, Gambrell, and Russell, if they're different? They may be the same.
Well, I think the best lawyers are good writers, good communicators. Okay, good writers, good communicators. You can get all nervous and all that. That's not a problem. if you're in public speaking, you just have to figure out a way around it, which most people do. You know, you've got to be somewhat courageous because there aren't a lot of us practicing law like we do. There are a number of Black lawyers, but not in corporate law firms like we are in. It takes a bit of courage and perseverance to stay in an environment where there's not a critical mass of other African Americans. Persistence, you've got to be persistent, got to be smart, but that's not the be all and the end all. If you're willing to work very hard, you'll be okay.
Okay.
You gotta want to work hard.
So I would say that it's a rebuttable presumption that you have the talent to be a good lawyer if you want to be a leader at a law firm. What other characteristics on top of those you just described do you look for in promoting someone to a leadership role?
They have to have leadership qualities, which is, to me, not to everybody, because you could just look in Congress and see a bunch of leaders that aren't leading. So, but they have to have courage. They have to speak the truth. They have to speak up. They have to care about the firm. They have to care about the people in the firm. They have to not be petty and small. They have to be able to have vision of where the firm should be going. They have to be willing to, it's basically what you need to be a justice on the Georgia Supreme Court. You have to have a vision. You have to be able to collaborate with other people because you can't just ramrod in what you want. You have to work with other people who might have perfectly legitimate other ways of thinking and other priorities. And so you have to work with them. Being able to work as a team is going to be important.
Yeah, so it sounds like humility is key, being able to sort of, take other people into account and be willing to move a little bit from your own perspective to work with in a collaborative fashion with others.
Yes, absolutely. You have to be able to do that. It's a little like servant leadership. You have to understand that, being on top means sometimes being on the bottom. Serving, being on the executive committee can be like, isn't necessarily like, going around, waving at everybody. It's hard work to serve the interests of the lawyers and the law firm, which could be like being in the basement in the mailroom at sometimes.
Okay, so let's transition a little bit more to like today and now. So we know we're in this pandemic. It's been like dealt this major blow to society. We're all trying to figure out how to navigate it. What are some of the biggest obstacles that you've had to manage through as a member of the executive committee and a leader of your firm with this pandemic?
Okay. Figuring out, is the firm going to be okay? Is our business going to be okay? And trying to keep as many jobs, trying not to react too fast so we can keep as many jobs, as many people employed as we possibly can. Okay. There's been the healthcare pandemic, and then there's the racial justice pandemic. Pretty much the same thing. Opening up the firm from the racial justice side to understand where the pain is, where the systemic racism is, where it is we cannot see things. Other people in the firm cannot see racism. They may be good people, they may have sympathy, but they don't have the requisite empathy to really do what they have. Fear, they don't want to see anything change, but things have to change. And the same thing with the healthcare pandemic. Things got to change, and things are going to be changing as a result of this pandemic. All of us will probably be working from home a lot more. where all of us are going to be doing more of this Zoom kind of presentations because you can get so much more done. I don't have to,
Mhm.
spend 3 hours trying to find you somewhere to sit down with the camera and all this kind of stuff. So, saving jobs, saving lives, making sure that folks are protected at the job from the virus. I mean, that's been important. All of that.
So I'm glad you mentioned the sort of racial component of what's been going on recently, and we know that you aren't new to this. You're true to this. You've been doing this for a while with Gabwa and all the work that you've been doing. So in today's environment, with an emphasis on social justice and racial equity, as someone that founded Gabwa, was the first president, D&I is important to you. What does D&I mean to you, and why is it important?
Well, so I have a bit of a bone to pick with D&I for some people, because as I've said many times, uh, D&I is just a word in many places. It's just thrown around and not taken seriously. For me, diversity and inclusion means uh, diversity and inclusion has to be action words. That means, you know, building these companies to the point where there's a critical mass of people of color and women and people that aren't just white men, to the point where it begins to look like America, where everyone feels that they can fit in. Uh, that's what D and I mean, and feeling included and not being used, and I think the right kind of D and I from where it's an action, it's actually an action. I benefits everybody in the company because that's where we're going to be in 5 or 10 years from now. There are so many people in companies that are interested in making sure their outside counsel, for example, are diverse. That if you don't have a diverse team, and I don't mean just a token team, but a real diverse team, you'll be in trouble.
And I know you've sort of been outspoken about it and lived it and breathed it. What advice do you give someone that is a little bit nervous that they may rock the boat, but they have an interest in being an ally? How can they help with diversity and inclusion efforts if they don't necessarily want to jump in all the way with a cannonball, but how can they help in sort of in their own way?
Well, I mean, there are different ways to help. It's just like during the civil rights movement, there was the Martin Luther King phase and then the Black Panther phase that's more advocacy. I mean, there are just dozens of ways to work. You can, as you sit in meetings, you can include people, you can get a minority mentee, you can uh, uh, do some pro bono work that benefits a minority group. You can fund a scholarship that funds a minority group. There are all kinds of ways. Not everybody needs to march in the street. I mean, one good thing would be like kind of what you're doing. I mean, I know you're doing 100 Black Men, and that's outstanding, but just in terms of being at your firm, going to a firm and being a success there, without losing your soul is good. It's good for all of us. It's good for the firm, the entire firm. It's good for African Americans who can look up to you and see somebody who was success at the firm. So there'll be 2 or 3 or 4 more. So there's all kinds of ways to make change without drowning in the sea of, Black power or you know, Indian power, LGBTQ plus power. Uh, just sometimes just being there and being a success is enough.
You mentioned earlier the importance of having courage as a leader and being willing to speak out. I believe that leadership is a willingness to fail publicly, right? Because you're out front There's no cover. If things go south, you have to take the heat. If things go well, you have to distribute the credit. But you have to have that courage to be willing to it's risky. You have to be willing to step out there on your own and be outspoken. So being a leader of a bunch of sort of alpha personalities at a major firm, and someone that led, I would say, the ultimate alpha personalities on a Supreme Court, sort of what motivates you to deal with that sort of daily grind of being a leader? Because I know there's a lot of incoming fire when you're dealing with personalities, alpha personalities. So what sort of motivates you to deal with that grind?
Because these alphas, the alpha personalities you deal with, have the power to do so much good if it's just channeled in the right direction. And I always enjoyed being able to corral, and that's what it is, like corralling sheep. They're all alphas into a consensus that speaks for the day, that is good for the community, that's good for the state, that's good for the country. I always felt tremendous joy and sense of accomplishment when I'm able to do something like that. So I mean, I'll jump out of bed and love doing that. Love doing that. I love stating my case, listening to your case, and can we find some sort of agreement where everybody wins, or at least nobody loses too bad.
So what is in being in those settings, what is your leadership philosophy, or sort of what is your North Star when it comes to leadership? And what I mean by that is you have your servant leaders, you have your leaders that are mainly focused on building the team that comes after them. You have your leaders that are mainly focused on the results and driving results and pushing people harder than that. What's sort of your style of leadership?
Okay, so I thank you, because I wasn't aware of this till like 10 years ago. I am a catalyst for change. Okay, what I do, I don't like sitting on top of systems for too long and making the systems go. I get very bored. But what I do, and if you look at my resume, you can kind of see, I come in, I see what's missing, and I this isn't working. Let's found Gambrell. Okay, or this isn't working. I'm going to Alston, and actually Alston, Miller, and Gaines, which became Alston and Byrd, and I'm going to be the first Black woman there out of 4 women and 3 Blacks. I was the first woman on the court, so I'm that a catalyst for change. As soon as I'm the first woman on the executive committee at Smith, Gambrell, and Russell. As soon as I got to the point, and if you just look at my career, when I got to the point where I had made the changes, it sort of disrupted things by just being there. And I don't mean like disrupting things, Kevin, by going around kicking over tables and squirting ketchup on people. I mean a disruptor. First woman, oh my God, we've never had a woman in the roving room before, kind of type thing. Once that's accomplished, then I tend to move on to another area where I could be what I think I do best, which is kind of sort of a disruptor in the a catalyst for change is what I'm saying. Like I got off the court. I could have stayed on the Supreme Court for years and years and years and years, but I had done what my job was to do. And it was time to hit big law up, which wasn't doing what it needed to do. Does that make sense? When I got to town, there weren't many Black women lawyers. Got them together. We start GABA. As soon as GABA starts taking off, I'm not interested in running a leadership academy. And all that is very good stuff. But that's just not what I do. I don't want to run a gala every year. I don't want to run thing. I want to come in there, get it started, light the fire, and keep on walking. And then light the fire on down the road and keep on walking. And that is that is what my leadership is or has been. So I guess
Are
that's
there
what
any are there any books that have sort of influenced your leadership style that you would recommend for people?
oh, oh, well, believe it or not, the until this morning, I've always known this. I'm a huge uh, Dr. Seuss fan, and I'm sorry it's not a big book or something like that, and I have liked his later books on the environment, the morality of doing things right, of being kind, of doing things good, of not being a racist, of looking after, the other person, the Zacks and the Sacks and the this and the that. And I read all of them. I even gave to Kennesaw State University, I gave a 1 minute, 30-second uh, commencement address to Kennesaw that kind of had the same rhythm as the Dr. Seuss. I love him so much. But this morning I saw, and I've known this about Dr. Seuss, the author. He was a man of his day, and he has some books that have some really bad racist, homophobic, uh, ethnic immigration issues that are being pulled from the shelves, as they should. I mean, so even some of the Disney stuff. I mean, you're not old enough to remember, but there were some Disney cartoons when I was growing up that made fun of Black people, and you could just see some of the early Disney stuff. That's not Black people, pygmies with white, all that kind of stuff, which aren't being shown today. Thank God.
Let me ask you this, as someone that has had an insider view from the highest court in the state of Georgia, what would you recommend, or what tactics do we need to explore to ensure that there is a diverse pipeline to the bench in the state of Georgia, and of course at the federal government level as well?
Well, there is a diverse pipeline.
Okay.
We're here. We are here. The
Okay.
major thing is uh, getting the appointing people, or even being willing to take the risk to run in those 38 states where you actually run for judgeships, state court judgeships. Way more state court judgeships than federal court judgeships. The power is really, in large part, in the state courts. That's where
Okay.
it's 3/4 of the courts are state court judges, But you got to be willing to run, and you've got to put in, when you can't run or when there's appointments, you got to make sure that the governors make the correct appointments, appoint people of color. You got to be there. It's not a pipeline. I don't think it's a pipeline issue. I think it's an issue of getting the right people to make the right appointments.
Gotcha.
It's maybe even, it's a large voting kind of, down to its core, it's a voting issue. If you vote for the right president will appoint the right judges. The right president will look to the right senators who pull up the right judges. The right governor will appoint the right kinds of judges, of which there are many competent, qualified people today.
And in our society, and in particular at the federal level, judges are the ones that have been the arbiter around election issues that happen to bubble up. And of course, that's the issue of the day, with bills dropping earlier this week in Georgia around election law. So like, how do you, and we know you have a track record of working with the ABA elections board and stuff. So how do you balance the ballot access and election integrity? What are your thoughts on that, on balancing those two
I think
issues?
that's all a hoot. I don't think there is a problem with election integrity or ballot. I think that's a made up issue, frankly. I think our Secretary of State made it pretty clear it's a made up issue in Georgia. Look, it's not like there's never, ever a problem. There's never, that's not, there are always problems, little problems in every election. But this thing that we've got people, dead people voting all over the place, and, people stuffing ballot boxes, early voting with all these people late at night. That has not been shown to be the truth. It's part of what some people call the big lie. And it's a shame. But there's not an issue. It's just not an issue right now. But it's a made up issue. I'll at least call it a made up issue. It's a made up issue in large part to suppress minority voting. Make it harder. If you have to have 2 IDs and you have to vote only on a Tuesday evening during the day when you can't get off work and all that kind of thing, it benefits some people and it hurts other people.
Yeah, I find it challenging to try to make a credible argument around ballot election integrity when I understand there's a proposal to make it a misdemeanor to provide water and food to people that are in line voting and taking away voting on the weekend. I don't understand how that has anything to do with election integrity.
It doesn't. I mean, flat out doesn't. It's voter suppression.
Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about, for some of our students, some of the most challenging parts of leadership is having difficult conversations and dealing with difficult people. How do you manage those scenarios where you have a person that's just sort of out to get you, but you have to figure out a way to find some harmony to get stuff done? Or how do you deal with difficult conversations with people, like an underperformer on your team?
Okay, because I've had that difficult conversation, like with a governor who tried to defeat me. And what I did when it's somebody like that is I'm going to continue to reach out to them, and maybe our better angels, and it's worked, with not go, as Michelle Obama used to say, somebody goes low, you go high. I try my best to go high, stay high. Sometimes you got to go low, though. And I mean, sometimes you do, and I'm willing to do that, but I don't want that to be part of my legacy, because I don't think that's who I want to be. So it's very difficult for me to do that. But you're saying someone on my team,
like underperformer on your team,
who I have, I just tell them. I just as gently as I can. Look, you can ask pretty much anyone. They'll tell you. I will tell them, I need you to do this, 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 this. You're not doing this right. You are doing this very well. I don't have a problem telling them. There are, particularly in firms like ours, a lot of people that are uncomfortable telling members on their team, especially if they're women or minorities, because they don't want to be accused of being a bigot. But that's problematic to the young person who needs to get the feedback to move forward.
Okay, so be straight up and direct.
Yes, I'm very direct. I don't play any games.
What advice would you give a college student on leadership? And would that advice change if you're talking to someone that is 30 as opposed to a college student that sort of worked a little bit and embarked on their career? What advice would you give those two folks on leadership?
I guess I would give them the same, pretty much maybe the same advice, which is leadership requires morality, some kind of integrity and civility. And I'll tell you a couple of good books to read. Stephen Carter, who's a professor at Yale, Black guy, African American, wrote a book called Integrity. I have 3 of the books, because every time I mislay it, I buy another one. And and mess that one up. And it's called Integrity. And then I have his book on civility. And I use those books all the time to just stay, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? How do I approach this problem in a civil way and with my integrity intact? My response to the question you asked about when I said Dr. Seuss, it would be Stephen Carter's book on civility and integrity are fantastic. You can get those on Amazon, I'm sure. But and that's what I would tell a college student or someone in their 30s. You aim for being a person of integrity because that is what is everlasting. That is what people will remember. That is what people will hire you for. That is what because lawyers have to be people that other people can trust. And if you're a person of, and doctors too. I mean, almost accountants too. So if you can be trustworthy, actually be trustworthy, not fake like you're trustworthy. If you can decide that that is who you are going to be, you'll get lots of business and lots of satisfaction and do the right thing at the same time.
Over the course of your career, what is one of the most successful, one of the successes that you're the most proud of?
My children have come up through all this because I was on the court and all this, and I just wondered, was I giving them enough time and enough attention? But that my daughter is in human resources at our old firm, Alston and Bird, and she seems like quite a good manager, and she keeps moving up, and I'm very proud of her. My son, who just got his second master's at Johns Hopkins, is a brilliant roboticist and is working on his tech stuff, some of which I understand, much of which I don't, because I'm not a right brain person, but it's fascinating. I'm really proud of my children that they're okay. Really. Okay. And I love my husband. This is my second marriage, and I've got a really good marriage I'm happy about. I like being with my husband. He spent most of his career traveling throughout Africa. He believes in the ability of Africans to develop the continent themselves. And I've learned a lot about Africa and Africans through him. Love it. He can tell, I'll ask him, like CNN, there'll be a name up, and I'll say, what kind of name is that? He'll say it's Nigeria, Yoruba. Or he'll say that's South African, such and such. Or that's Kenyan, such and such. Man, it's wonderful having that kind of education, right in your own home.
Okay. So 2 last questions. One, what is your most awe-inspiring moment when you think back on life? What is one moment where you're just like, wow, I can't believe that happened?
I think when Zell Miller called me on the phone. Okay. That is at least one of them. Wow. I mean, I can't believe this. Can I do this? Yes, that is at least one of them.
Okay. And then the last question is, what do you want your legacy to be as a leader and as a person?
I don't know, as a person, that I was just a good person, somebody you could trust, someone with integrity. As a leader, same thing, someone with integrity, someone you could trust, someone worthy of all the accolades I'm getting at this point. I'm 65 now. I'm not stopping anytime soon, but I'm 65 now, but I just want to be worthy of what people are calling me. The paper this morning said legal giants speak about death of Vernon Jordan. And I'm like, am I a legal giant? Because I just see me. And then somebody said, legal titan. And I'm like, titan? Oh, wow. Or, super lawyer. Wow. Put on my cape and fly. I just want to be worthy of all of that. That's all.
Well, I can say as my graduation speaker at UGA Law back in 2004.
Oh, you were there?
Yep. And
Oh, okay.
watching you.
That's when the Carters were there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay. Jason was there. So you're in Jason Carter's class.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Now, okay, great. Okay.
And
Well,
watching everything that you've done, you're definitely worthy of all of those titles and inspire us to do better and strive to be our best selves, in particular in the legal profession and in general. And so we thank you for that. And I know we are running up to our time. If you have a second, we can see if there's a question or two, but if not,
I'll take a second. Yeah.
Miguel, do we have any questions? While he's checking on the question, I just want to say thank you. We're forever indebted for this moment and your time, and we know you're very busy. So we are grateful and appreciative.
No, it's good to get to know you better because Brennan, and my daughter talks about you, Kevin Gooch, Kevin Gooch, Kevin Gooch. And she even knew about this because you posted something. And Mom, you didn't. Yeah. She talks about you with it glowingly all the time.
She's amazing. So, and I was glad that we got to work together. So Miguel, do we have any questions?
We don't, but we do have a Kimberly Alexander, who first said that you are an inspiration, and she also let us know Go Dogs, class of 2004.
Oh, okay. Tell her I said hello, and I miss her from Fulton County, but I'm glad that she's on the bench. Okay, very glad.
All right. With no questions, we can let you get back to your day. And again, on behalf of the 100 Black Men and our board and our members and our team and staff, we thank you for the time. This has been great.
So good luck to you. I'm very proud of you too.
Thank you very much. All right. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.